This is Charlie Rose.
Academy Award winners Joel and Ethan Coen are here. Their films include Fargo, Raising Arizona, and The Big Lebowski. Their latest is an adaptation of Pulitzer Prize winner Cormac McCarthy's No Country for Old Men. Roger Ebert calls it a perfect film. Here is a look at the trailer.
I was sheriff of this county when I was 25 years old. Grandfather was a lawman, father too. The crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure.
We're out a bunch of money and the other party is out his product.
Llewelyn, what's in the satchel?
It's full of money.
I'm looking for Llewelyn Moss.
Do you want to leave a message?
Yes.
What are you doing, baby?
Fixing to do something dumber than hell, but I'm going anyways.
You think the Moss has got any notion of the sorts that are hunting him?
You can't stop what's coming. What's this guy supposed to be, the ultimate badass?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
These people will kill him, Carla Jean. They won't quit.
He won't neither.
I always seen this is what it'd come to. I previsioned it.
You know how this is gonna turn out, don't you? Nope. I think you do. What's the most you ever lost? The coin toss. Call it friendo.
Also joining me, the stars Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin. I'm pleased to have them here to talk about this film. Welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Is this the first adaptation?
Yes.
Everything else you've written. So if you're going to start with somebody,
Why not start with
Cormac.
Yeah. Why not start with the best?
And so why did you choose this?
Well, we didn't actually choose it. It's sent to us by Scott Rudin in Galleys about a year before it was published, I guess. And we had read Cormac. We'd each read a number of his novels before, just for pleasure, not with the idea of thinking about them as movies. But this one seemed unlike, I think, his other novels.
In what way?
Well, at a certain level, it's much pulpier than his other novels. At least it is initially. You know, the first 3/4 of the novel are sort of move along like a thriller. And then, you know, it takes a turn, which was just got us more interested.
Take me through the process of this, you know, in terms of how you felt about it and why you wanted to tell the story and what it offered you and working in Texas.
Oh, well, that was one of the attractions, actually. That was one of the big attractions. It's a regional story, as all of Cormac's stuff is, and we kind of, we knew the area of West Texas, and that was just another reason to do it. But, you know, mostly it's what Joel said. It was just, it seemed like promising as material for a movie. It was just, you know, it's a chase, action story, and, you know, something more than that, but that.
Tommy Lee was your first choice.
Yeah.
He's the first hire. Because?
Yeah. He's just kind of the obvious guy. There's the sheriff in the story is just, you know, by virtue of Tommy's age and the region, again, you know, he's very much of that place. Tommy's, you know, from San Saba, which is not quite West Texas, but close enough. You know, he's just...
Down by the border.
The San Saba isn't, actually. It's more Central Texas, but like I say, close enough. And, you know, he's just got everything, you know, the authority, and he's just the obvious choice.
And then Javier was next?
Yeah.
Because he's mean enough?
Because he's mean enough, yeah.
Look at him.
Look at him, yeah. Did you say to them, I don't like violence?
Yeah.
I don't like to speak English much.
I don't speak English, and I don't drive, and I don't like violence.
I don't drive.
Yeah.
And they said, you're our guy.
Yeah, he did. He said, I hate guns and I don't drive. Javier was, after Tommy, Javier was the next person we approached. And
who does he play?
He plays a character he plays the bad guy.
Yeah. But who is he?
Well, you know, what's interesting about that character in the novel is that Cormac McCarthy keeps the reader really completely off balance in terms of who that character is. He describes him physically almost not at all. He gave him this name. Actually, it was one of the things that first thing I asked Cormac when I met him was what his name is Chigurh, C-H-I-G-U-R-H. And I said, what kind of name is that? And he said, it's a name that, I mean, what he was saying basically was he tried to find a name that was intentionally untraceable, sort of ethnically or you know, in terms of nationality or any of the rest of it. The idea is that the character is in many ways a mystery in the book, and the sort of task in terms of casting the character was how do you sort of make that character dynamic and real and compelling, but preserve part of that mystery.
And then Josh. Oh, you made a tape for them.
I did. I was doing Grindhouse with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, and I asked Robert, who I've been friends with for a long time, I said, you know, there's this Coen Brothers movie happening that I just found out about. I had read the book a long time ago, and then, you know, I couldn't leave because I was working, so I asked Robert, would he videotape me? And he said, why don't we just use the camera we have, which was a $1 million Genesis camera.
Most expensive audition tape ever made.
Truly, the most brilliant looking audition tape that Quentin directed and Robert lit and shot. Yeah. And then I sent it to them, and their response was, wow, who lit it? Well, what about the guy? And my agent's going, well, do you like him? Well, no, but who's the DP? We're looking for a new DP.
So what was wrong with this audition?
No, it was fine. It's just, it's harder to react to a tape. You know, it's good to meet actors.
Well, that's what he wanted all along. He was saying, no, you didn't?
No, it wasn't. I couldn't at that point because I was working. And it wasn't until afterwards that they say no that I got the gumption to say, okay, I want to meet these guys. I want to tell them how I feel.
Well, you know, you had this reputation as sort of being very picky about, you know. Now, you've turned down more things and only done the things that you want to do because you...
I'd never seen a Coen Brothers movie, and I wanted to, and so I watched some of their movies. And
you had never seen them?
No, that's not true. That's not true. Yeah, I'm picky, but when it comes to masterful filmmakers, honestly, like these, you know, then you're a lot less picky.
And why are you picky, though? I mean,
with other films?
Yeah.
Well, I really wanted to do Dukes of Hazzard, but I thought maybe when I look back on it in the end that I might go, why?
I'm not sorry.
Why?
Yeah,
so this is a movie that I can look back on.
You couldn't explain that to your children, could you?
Exactly. That's my thought, too. I have a healthy fear of that, being on my deathbed and looking out, you know.
And they're saying, Dad, did you actually make...
What'd your dad do for a living? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He was a plumber.
He was, that's right.
Yeah. So when I, you know, this movie and American Gangster and stuff like that, I look back on it and I feel great. I worked with amazing people and collaborate with those amazing people. It's a lot easier to work with people like this. You know, there's a lot more ego on the set with other, I don't know.
Tell me about the nature of the collaboration.
Well, with these guys, it was fairly quiet. I mean, these guys don't, there's not a lot of, look at they're sitting there smiling because they know.
Well,
you know, there's an unnerving presence in the beginning. Like, there's none of that, like, wow, you are so great. What a great scene. Let's go do the next one, because we're so happy now.
So why did you finally decide on him? What did you need?
What do we need? That's an interesting question. We thought it'd be easy. We thought there'd be like 100 people who could play this part, because it's kind of an everyman part, and it's, I don't know, we kept telling each other, all we need is a good, clean boy. How come we can't find him? But it's...
Yes.
It's actually unbelievably difficult because a lot of it is nonverbal. A lot of it is just process. You're watching the character do his thing physically. You need somebody who's going to be compelling to watch. I can't say these things in front of Josh.
I know, because I've never heard this.
I'm trying to help you out.
And I've actually gotten them drunk and then tried to get them out of here.
Say that.
Tell me the reality.
How was I?
And they just fell asleep on the boat.
The other thing was that, you know, we, as you said, we had already cast Tommy Lee Jones and Javier Bardem in the other two parts. It's very much a movie about three men, equal weight in the movie, each of the three.
On a character like this, do you simply go to the text and say, you know, I get it, or do you go somewhere else?
Well, as Joel said before, it was not especially extremely well described physically on the book, so it was wide open to any kind of interpretation. And actually, the only description that I remember is the blue lapis color of the eyes, which is something that I don't have at all.
Exactly, that's true.
But we tried to find a place where the person, which is kind of embodiment of violence itself, is believable, and people can get related to him in somehow.
Boy, they got related to him, didn't they?
Well, that's the point. In the humor, or in the clumsy way of doing things sometimes.
It is said about you guys, Coen Brothers film is all about structure and process, and that you do more, and I'm opening this up for all of you, you do more in terms of sort of literally laying out every scene, so that by the time you make the movie, you've done all the heavy lifting. Josh?
For sure. I mean, you have sides, you have what are called sides every day, and those are the pages that they're planning on doing, and then behind the sides are their drawings, or J.T. Anderson, no, J. Todd, wow. Anderson's drawings, their storyboard artists, so you know what shots they're going to do, and they stick pretty much to what that is. I mean, not that they're not willing to, you know, be spontaneous or improvise or ad-lib or, you know, all that, but, you know, they've created a very strong foundation to always resort to, you know, and then wherever we go.
I think you ad-libbed one line in the movie.
I would like to think it was more than that. But yeah, there was one line that when I find the money, I look to the dead guy, which is absurd. And then I said, you know what, I think that we should have something here, like he's deciding, okay, the day is going to change, or yes, I'll take the money, or I see where we're going here. So we tried different, what ends up in the movie is, and I can always hear...
That was your improvisation?
That was my improvisation. And I always know where Ethan is in the theater, because I always hear him go. I always hear him go. Right. But we tried different ones, I think. I think we tried and then we tried and we came up with
better.
Still my
a wise choice, wasn't it?
favorite speech in the movie.
Yeah, real life.
But tell me more about your philosophy of making movies that reflected in what we just talked about.
Well, it is kind of what Josh says. We have a plan because we're chicken, you know, we don't want to have to go on.
You don't trust your actor? What?
No, not
we
the
trust our
actors.
Yeah.
But just in terms of being our own ability to extemporize on the set, or, you know, the obligation of extemporizing on the set. We don't want that. We want to have a plan for how we're going to shoot the scene, whatever it is. So we walk in with a plan, which, as Josh says, is always kind of subject to change. But, you know, it's kind of a security blanket.
You know, the mythology about Alfred Hitchcock, in fact, he was the biggest promoter of it.
The idea.
Was that idea that, you know, once I actually get on the set, the only thing that can happen is that something can go wrong. He's already made the movie in his head, and he also was sort of, you know, very, very prepared to the extent of having pre-thought the movie before he started production. We're not... You know, I'm not even sure that's true of Alfred Hitchcock in reality. I don't think he could have made 50 movies without enjoying the process of being on the set and working with people. It's such an extremely social and collaborative process. And while it's true that we prepare maybe to an extent greater than a lot of other directors, who, you know, that's just part of our process, it's also true that we like the process on the set of actually seeing what happens, being open to what happens when you go into a new space, when you're working with new people, be they actors or technical people. And we do have storyboards, but actually we don't look at them very much while we're shooting. And once they've been done, we almost never look at the storyboards. We have them in the back of our minds and we follow them to a certain extent, but that changes a lot as we go through the production.
And also, since they deal with the visual way before, they're able to focus on actors, you know, and be able to listen. You know,
that's a good point. I was going to say that.
It's true.
Yeah, in fact, it gives them a chance to be more creative.
Exactly.
If you've already laid out the other things, so you're not worried about that.
Or to be there for the actors when the actors are being more creative, and to be able to go, you know, bring it down or tweak. They do a lot of tweaking. They don't do a lot of massive manipulation.
Got you. Roll tape. Here's a scene.
Well, this is just a deal gone wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. Appears to have been a glitch or two.
What calibers you got there, Sheriff?
9mm. A couple of 45 ACPs. Somebody unloaded on that thing with a shotgun.
How come you reckon the coyotes ain't been at them?
I don't know.
I think we're looking at more than one fracas.
That Mexican brown dope.
Well, this was earlier. Getting set to trade. And whoa, differences. You know, might not even have been no money.
That's possible.
But you don't believe it?
No. Probably I don't.
Well, it's a mess, ain't it, Sheriff?
If it ain't, it'll do till the mess gets here.
I read somewhere also, Javier, that this was a latter-day Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter, right?
Yeah. You think of him that way at all?
No, not really. No, I mean, there are great performances. There are people that are kind of psycho that I thought for a second to take a look at, but then I thought that it would be a mistake.
To look at somebody else's psycho.
Because then I will copy exactly the same thing that he did, and I will bring that to their movie.
Yeah.
Also, what Javier doesn't do, I mean, it's weirdly not a malevolent character, although he kind of scares the crap out of you. It's weird. I don't know what the line is that Javier walked, but it's not exactly an evil character. He's just very uneasy making.
Or is it something you like about him? I mean, you know, some people say when you're playing a bad person, find some redeeming quality that the audiences will like. Is it that sort of cliche, or is it another cliche?
I don't think that was the intention.
You don't like him, but you recognize him at some level as being human. And
human.
Yeah, and that was again an interesting line I think that Javier had to walk in his portrayal of the character. He's the one character in the book that actually departs from a certain sense of realism. He's both sort of real in the book and an idea, and that's a very, very difficult thing to do, I think, as an actor, is to sort of preserve that. It's the mystery and the fact that and the fact that you have to be human at the same time that you have to embody something else. You have to sort of embody this idea as the character's written.
And
so
also,
that's
as filmmakers, I think it's tough to cut that together, because if you have too many looks of this, or you know, it can start to become almost silly, you know. So you find a humanity within that, and he brings so much charisma to it. I think that's the great thing about this guy, about these bad guys, his bad guy, his Chigurh, is that there's a charisma that you can't help but like the guy, but you know you shouldn't. You want to follow him, which is, you know, so there's two or three things going on at once that you don't get to see in film usually.
Take a look at this. This is you there. Here it is.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it.
Call it?
Yes.
For what?
Just call it.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
You need to call it. I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair.
I didn't put nothing up.
Yes, you did. You've been putting it up your whole life. You just didn't know it. You know what date is on this coin?
No.
1958. It's been traveling 22 years to get here. And now it's here. And it's either heads or tails. And you have to say, call it.
Well, look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything, call it.
Javier, you once said every movie you do is important because it teaches you how to at least not do what you don't want to do.
Wow, did I say that?
It was an interview magazine, so. Yeah.
I don't know.
So if you have a bad experience in a movie, you know not to repeat that experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you want to get surrounded by people that, of course, they do well their job, but most important that they are good people to gather with and collaborate with. And there are people out there that they don't understand that. So, lucky enough, these brothers, beyond the great filmmakers they are great people. So I don't think you can go. This is the top you can get.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
I think the same thing.
For sure.
You know?
Totally.
Funding for Charlie Rose has been provided by the following.
60% of all waste can be recycled. Beverage cans and bottles are among the most recycled in the world. And we're also working toward more efficient beverage containers, one drop at a time.
Additional funding for Charlie Rose was also provided by these funders.
And by Bloomberg, a provider of multimedia news and information services worldwide.
We are PBS.